Cape Pulpit 729 AM, your daily companion.
There is radio, and then there is Radio Cape Pulpit on 729 AM. Can you hear the difference?
Aibo, of course we can hear the difference. Aibo, this song, Gaume Jamie, we're going to play you in a bit, okay? Just relax a little bit, okay? Because me and my girl Candice, we want to have a conversation up in here, okay? And we don't want you guys to miss a thing. Candice, welcome to Grace Upon Grace. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling good. It's been a good Monday.
Good.
A productive day. And I'm glad I made it on time, so I'm good.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
It's good to actually have you on the show. You look absolutely beautiful. I don't want to be engulfed by this beauty all by myself. So please, guys, join us on Facebook and on YouTube. Yeah, it's 7 to 9 Kapsa Council, and we have our girl Candice Lynn Warner, like the Warner Brothers.
Yes.
I kept on saying Warner. Forgive thy girl. So Candice, we want to find out more about you. I know you've done quite a lot of work, in the industry.
Okay.
People know about you. I mean, I've been having all these messages like, oh my gosh, that's my girl. I mean, Dudu personally just sent me a message. Oh my goodness, you got a girl on studio today. So yeah, people are very excited, to have you here on the show and find out more about you,
Yes,
as this person that you are. But before we get into our conversation, I want to read you her long list
Please
of
do
bio.
not.
So Candice Lynn is a qualified and experienced independent social work practitioner, okay, with a background in government, private practice, and higher education. She's an author, like I said, of the book Reparenting the Inner Child. Is there any other book that you...
No.
Only that and more?
Just launched, so it's the only thing.
More is coming. Hallelujah. Because that's very important, but we'll get into that conversation. Okay. And she's also a lecturer and an inspirational speaker, a mental health practitioner dedicated to helping people to get healed, on the inside. I love this when you say from deep-seated traumas. Huh. Oh, my God. Take it in, guys. From deep-seated traumas. And she helps out restoring safety and connection in those relationships. As a keynote speaker and a catalyst for change, Candice focuses on improving the quality of life for individuals, families, and communities. I mean, this is a very important person here, guys. Hey, tell all your friends that Candice is in the house. She works closely with children, families to rebuild their sense of safety and human connection, and of course in the environment that we live on, okay? And she is her level of education is like high. But I mean, when God equips you, He's ready to send you out. So you are well equipped for this particular journey and season, okay? So you'll share more personally whether you're married, you've got children, and so forth. But what I wanted to also add in that you also engage in public speaking through television, radio, you do public talks as well, and you create spaces for us to discuss the issues that nobody else talks about out there or are even scared to actually talk about. So getting into this conversation, what else would you like to add on this beautiful bio about Candice?
The thing about being invited to speak anywhere is always the follow through of, please send us your bio. And so it's sort of standard practice that you would have something set in place. But I think the one thing that sort of permeates through everything that I do is that I believe that I gain my sense of self through relationship with people. And so this talk about connection and about safety, it's not just, random talk. It is a philosophy that I live by, that I build the foundation of my life on, is that I place a lot of emphasis on relationship with people, because I believe that we are created and we are wired for connection. Yeah. But often by, life not working out in the way that we deserve or we envision or we picture, trauma and adversity and challenges and things happen along the way, and that impacts on that ability and capacity to connect in a healthy and a good way.
Environment, yeah.
But each of us still deserve that regardless. And so if I were to sum all of what you said up, I'm just going to say I'm a person who gains my sense of self through relationship in my life. And that pretty much is it. And then I am a mom to a 5-year-old boy, Alexander,
Hello,
who really,
Alexander.
who really allows me into this space and to operate in this way. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. Yes, I work in the capacity of a lecturer. I teach social work and psychology students, so our future mental health practitioners.
Sure, that is so
And we
good.
know they play such a big and fundamental role within society.
Yeah.
And then I also counsel adolescent girls at a high school, an all-girls school, and I work sort of therapeutically with them. And so there's a lot of hats that I'd say I wear. But all of them are on the basis of relationships, and that's the key. That's the key.
But in this season, we're talking about womanhood, and we're in Women's Month, and I feel like it needs to be Women's Month every single month because there's a lot in us. There's different hats that we wear. But in this particular season, who is Candice? I know you're an author, but who is Candice in the season?
I love that question. I think Candice in this season is the person that is allowing all the parts of herself to exist.
Ooh,
and that means that I am allowing enough internal capacity to take in everything that life brings, all the contradictions, right? So that I can celebrate the birth of a book and also go through loss at the same time, but I can take in the contradictions of that. It's my belief that the wisest and the most at peace people that we'll ever meet in this lifetime are people who have that internal capacity to take in the opposite of what life brings, because often we think it needs to be this or that.
Sure.
But we can, as women especially, we've been doing it for centuries. We can embrace this and that and know that it's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much sums up where I find myself right now. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of challenges. You talked about loss. You talked about, having to birth something new. But when you're focusing on challenges, so like what kind of challenges have you faced, as Candice?
I laughed when I saw that question. And in reflecting on that, I think in this particular season of my life, as a woman of color in this country, I have, and within the spaces I've needed to take up, I have often needed to use my voice in spaces where it wasn't necessarily welcomed or okay for me to do so.
Sure.
And I've many a times wrestled God on why I need to be what I call the disruptor, not the person that's bringing chaos or confusion, because that's not my personality, but a disruptor in the sense of where there are injustices or where people are not being treated fairly or in a way that they deserve to be treated. It's someone needs to speak up.
Yeah.
I don't believe that we as individuals, that we have no voice. I believe that some of us, however, our voices are more amplified and are louder than others, and we need to, I suppose, work that inward and ask, what is it that I'm needing to do, knowing that my voice is amplified in this way. And so answering that, it's probably going to be that I've needed to very intentionally show up as disruptor in certain spaces, but to know why I'm doing that. And then it sort of leads me into saying, and it's something that I speak about in my book, I speak about the analogy of the chairs, right? And so there are 3 chairs. You have your little kiddie stool, if you can try and picture that. So it's that wooden little stool that a kid would sit on. Yeah. And then you have an adolescent chair, which is much like the chair that I'm seated on. Okay. It's just a normal chair with a backing. And then you have the adult chair, which is that massive cushion, like the chair that you're going to just...
Like an office chair, or in the dining room setting, there's daddy chair.
The occasional chair, the daddy chair, yes, like the, what is it called? The lazy boy chair. Yeah. That really comfortable, big plush chair that you can just drop your body into and just immerse yourself in that. And this entire sort of analogy is a model that is referred to as the adult chair, because that's what that big chair represents. Yeah. And it's not a work that I have introduced or brought to the fore, but I speak about it in the book, and I speak about the founder of this model. And really what it speaks to is how each of us need to move from the inner child into the adult.
Sure.
right? But often because of lived experiences, a lot of us are still seated on that kiddie stool. And so what this therapist and the person that found this model does is she would listen to your story and then say to you, okay, now go and sit in the chair that you feel most represents where you are at in your life right now, right? The adult chair, and this is what I want to get to in answering your question about being a disruptor in this time, is in the adult chair, I am living and operating out of the healthiest version of who I am.
Come on.
In that chair, I am present. I am a good listener. I am adaptable. I know that I don't need to react. I can
Yeah.
respond.
Ooh,
And so I want to lean into that
good.
and say, I'm also in my adult chair at the moment in my life. So even though I would deem myself a disruptor in certain spaces, even as a disruptor, I know that often I don't have to react. I can be silent, even when others think I'm needing to say something, I'm going to say something, because I know when I'm needing to respond, which is what you do when you are in your adult chair or seated in your adult chair. And so a disruptor, but also a person that fully embraces all those parts of herself and understands that in my adult chair, I'm wanting to really operate out of a place of health and living healthily and a place of peace,
Yeah,
you know?
that's so good.
Walking in that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. This. I hope you're taking notes at home, because this is some grown-up conversation that we are having right here. We still tuned in here on Grace Upon Grace with Musa. I am with Candice Lynn Warner, and we're talking about her, as the person that she is right now, and what she is this season. You've given quite good points, but I think in order for me to wrap my head around that, because I mean everybody's crying out to be in that little chair, because life and growing up sometimes can be a challenge. But I want us to speak into your book specifically, and take a little bit of notes here and there, and maybe we might get a listener something. So if you want to win something, stay tuned. Let Jamie Jones take you straight to the song called Love You Are Worthy. Lord, you're worthy.
radio that cares 24 hours a day.
Yes, it is the radio that cares 24 hours a day. You are still tuned in to Grace Upon Grace. My name is Musa. Thank you so much once again. And we still have our girl Candice right here with me in studio. And I mean, we are live on Facebook. Send through your messages, guys. Do you have any questions? I said, I gave a hint earlier on that we might be winning a book. Okay, so this has been confirmed that one listener will be winning a book straight after we have done with all our conversation. But I think Candice has a question that she could ask about the 3 chairs that we talked about. Which chair do you think like you fit in at this particular moment as a woman? You could be a man listening and you are thinking about where you see your wife, where you see your daughter, and you want this book so bad for your loved ones. Which chair are you sitting on in this particular season of your life, or with your eyes as men listening, that you see your spouse or your child as a girl child? In which chair are they sitting on? Okay. So Candice, you've written a book.
That I have.
That is like, when I read the title of your book, right, and I went through, the highlights of it, it just felt to me that we are here having to correct what our parents have done. We are not really living what God has called us to be, for those of us that are blessed enough to be parents, right? And we find ourselves having to go back and correct, oh, mom, oh, dad, you didn't do this well, and whatever. I want to find out what inspired this book. It is called Reparenting Your Inner, or the Inner Child.
Yes, Reparenting the Inner Child.
Sure. Talk to us about it.
Yes, so it's the call inward. What inspired this was I found myself over a period of time doing a lot of talks within different spaces, as I do. And so whether I was delivering a mental health talk to a corporate company, whether I was working with families and doing family strengthening workshops, whenever I would speak to the topic of journaling and recollecting what your childhood lived experiences were made up for you, no matter the audience or the setting, the reaction and the response to that particular reflective question was always that it so deeply resonated with everyone. And so what I saw was a pattern over time of, again, no matter that audience, no matter that setting, people all resonate with this concept or idea of there being an inner child. And it often surfaced when they were having to reflect on childhood lived experiences. And so I thought, okay, what would be a really good way of getting this particular message that so deeply resonates with so many different people in different settings or different audiences across to a broader audience? And I suppose I then leaned into the fact that I've been in the academic world or space for the past 9 years, almost 10 years now, and I thought I'm going to use what I have to my advantage, and that is writing. And I thought, okay, let's sit down, let's put pen to paper. I had no idea that I was going to be taking myself on a journey of reparenting.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
And what kind of ups, valleys, and hills that you faced during that time?
As they say,
writing?
You have writer's block. There were a lot of instances of, I'm at a stop and I don't know where to from here, right? Because I'm writing about the inhibitions and the expression and the creativity and spontaneity of what a child represents. That's why we speak of children are so innocent, right?
Yeah.
And with that innocence comes that free will and just that ability to be. But because life's burdens get us early on, it dampens all of what we are meant to experience and encounter as children.
Sure.
Right? And so that's really what the book is about. It is saying, okay, whatever those younger experiences or early experiences were for you, it wasn't deserved, wasn't desired, but it happened anyway. And I want to go back into what you started saying around the parenting and how we often, we look back now as young parents and we want to correct what wasn't done a certain way. what could have been done better.
Yeah.
But I do believe that our parents, they did the best with what they knew and what they had. A lot of the time, a lot of us, to be honest, we've been living and operating out of survival mode for years.
Still do.
Still do. Get up, show
Sure.
up, do what you
My
need to do,
goodness.
right? And so we need to have a lot of grace and compassion, on not only ourselves and our own stories, our own journey, but that of our parents and what they have gone through and encountered in raising us.
Sure.
Yes.
Someone might be listening right now and says, girls, you have no idea. I'm at this place where I feel like my mom, my dad was like the worst parent ever. And now I'm actually doing it to show them how it's done. And many a times they will never tell the parent that they've actually come up or hit rocks, along the way, because they are busy having to show this facade that I can do it all, right? Like for a person that is listening right now, that is actually going through that journey, to say that, you know what, if your mom has never validated you, and God is whispering to you right now that you must be the one validating her. She's never had validation before, and therefore she is unable to validate you.
Yeah.
So play it back. You be the one validating her, so that she can hear how it is or what it is that she's done right, and she can actually replicate that.
So profound. I start the book by speaking about, my mom shares an expert on her experience as a 21-year-old, finding out that she's going to have a baby, which is AKA me.
Hello.
And she shares some of her difficulties and struggles in that journey as a 21-year-old.
Sure.
And I then proceed to write a little bit about my experience before having Alexander. And then it leads into, and it's reflective in saying, go and have a chat with your mom
Sure.
and ask or find out what her childhood lived experiences were and what her experience of you or her being pregnant with you was like for her.
Oh, girl.
And then go down that road and unpack and explore what that is.
I love that so much, because I'm sure my mom is listening. And she's probably thinking, this girl has spent a lot of time with Candice. No, Mom, it's so much time that I'm actually speaking to Candice today. Because every time, let's say there would be a birthday or she's coming, to visit, I would, it's deep conversations, yes, but it's those deep conversations where you really want to know, how was your pregnancy with me? How did you feel? How I got born, was a crying baby? Did I irritate you? Or so that you can understand her journey. What are some of the words that have been spoken in her life that she never felt like she was worthy to carry this child, this baby girl, especially when she's, I've got two brothers and I'm the only one, only child, which is funny enough, God showed up again because I've got two sons and one girl. So it's like that nice and challenging wave, right? And I mean, I think at first for her it was like, why would you want to know? Now I have to think back. Oh my word.
You're
I don't
taking me back.
know. Yeah. And everything would be like, no, it was hunky-dory, blah, 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 blah. But in actual fact, how was it? I want to hear those downs as well.
Share your story with me.
You know?
Share your story
So which
with
is very important. I love that. So if you are right there at home and you're wondering to yourself, sure, I would love to read this book, not only for me, but me and my mom could actually do like a cell group together, read one chapter, or we can read.
Start a book club.
Yeah, start a book club. Why not? And because we all want to heal at some shape or form in this particular area, because we don't have it all figured out, for all of us. If you are a perfect parent, hit me up. Hit me up. So, Candice, where can people find this book?
So the book has been published. It's self-published, but published and distributed through Shofar Books and the amazing Haroldine Shinda, and I'm so grateful and thankful to her.
Bless you, sister.
So Shofar Books has an online website where you can purchase the book, and then also through my connection-focused .co.za page. Any handle on social media in terms of finding me would be Connection Focused Therapist, and then that pretty much leads you into being able to purchase the book.
Alrighty, you heard it here. Okay, it is Reparenting the Inner child. And I mean, we all want to parent the inner child within us. If a person wants to, do you do one-on-one counseling sessions, or they feel like, oh, I could relate? I mean, Candice speaks straight to what I'm going through right now. Do you do that work?
As a connection-focused therapist, yes, I predominantly work with teenagers and adults toward reparenting the inner child. But, and it's a big but, and that's back to being in your adult chair, is knowing what you need and when you need it. At this time, or in the season of our life, I'm not seeing anybody therapeutically, so I'm not working with clients therapeutically. I'm happy to, however, unpack or discuss or chat about the book. If anybody, and I've said that to people who have purchased, that if you want to come back to me and ask me anything or revert to a certain passage and, you know, we want to better understand what it means, I'm more than willing to have a chat with you about that, and to unpack that with you.
That is amazing. And I mean, like we said, we've got, if you knew that you knew that you knew about what kind of chair that you are sitting on, okay, that's the question that we asked to make sure that we win a book, okay, not me, but you, okay, more especially. I'm doing this for you. So we've got Melanie B. Rousseau. She says, I really feel at this present moment that I am still in the middle chair. You know, I asked her, she must just share her why. So she hasn't got into that yet of the why. And sometimes it's just a matter of us having to dig deep, right? Because in that middle chair, we can associate it with age. We can associate it with, you know, I just want to be a child, but, you know, I'm a parent. You know, right in the middle of the chair, or not finding who you are and standing your ground in who you are, confidently you.
Yes,
and whatever hits, whatever waves that hits, you know.
It's only going to come with a lot of reflection and self-awareness.
Yeah.
With a lack of self-awareness and reflection, you'll probably never get out of that chair.
So what you're trying to say to Mel, read that book, girl, because you want to grow into this massively sitting on comfortable chairs and making sure, but I know who I am. I know what life has to bring. And she says, still trying to understand how to be a parent. A parent. That is her answer on explaining why does she feel like she's in that middle chair.
But you see that in itself, Mel, I know Mel, by the way. That speaks to the fact that you're able to reflect on why you find yourself in that chair, which means you probably aren't in that chair as much as you think you are, right? Because all of us, our parenting journeys are ever evolving and we are learning as we go along.
Sure.
And it's like Musa was saying, it's about having grace and compassion on ourselves. I'm often having to go back to Alexander and say, I'm really sorry, I was having a bad day and I shouldn't have reacted or responded in that way, because in that particular moment I found myself in my adolescent chair. Reactive and quick and fast, you know.
And we need to apologize for these moments.
And you know what? That 5-year-old boy has the biggest heart and all that grace to say, it's okay, mommy, it's okay.
They're teaching us.
Yes, they teach us
to
so
go
much
back
about
to our
ourselves.
parents and say, it's okay,
it's
mommy.
Okay, mommy.
It's okay, dad. You know? And so Melanie B. Rousseau is our winner for the book Reparenting the Inner Child. Congratulations, Mel. I don't have the poo-poo-poo-poo, so poo-poo-poo-poo with our mouth. So before we end up the show, we've got Nyari Pariola who is listening. Hey, Musa, it's Nyari here. Thank you so much for discussing such an important topic. I had a happy childhood, but my parents did make some mistakes, which required me to reparent my inner child. I must confess, I keep wondering and praying that I don't cause my kids a lot of damage by trying really hard to raise them so intentionally and prayerfully. Listen, when Nyari, it is a journey for every one of us. It's a matter of, you know, submitting those areas every single day to God. He will direct you. I mean, there's books. God has gifted people like Candice having to tap into that. How do you do this as a child of God, you know? So hopefully you will go into connection focused or through the chauffeur website where you can purchase your copy. Okay. But yeah, that brings us to the very end of our show. Mel is so excited there. And on Facebook. Yes, girl, you are the winner. Pinch yourself.
It's yours. It's yours.
It is definitely yours. Man, oh man, oh man. I'm sorry that we have to come to the end of the show. I'm having fun, and I hope you had fun as well. Thank you, Candice,
Thank
so much for
you.
taking your time out and
you
to
so
that little
much.
boy of
Oh,
yours,
thank
you know, giving us grace and giving us his mommy to make sure
Thank
that
you.
we get some of you, you
Thank
know. So
you.
thank you so much for,
Thank
joining
you. It
me.
was such an honor. Thank you for having me.
Man, it has been such a pleasure. Listen, man, you know what time it is. It's time for me to say goodbye. Remember, wherever you are, my friends, you are made out of an imperishable seed. So you have to blossom where God has planted you. Up until next time, it's your girl, Musa Gachaguja. And now we will be played by a song. Oh, the Winans. It's called Tomorrow.